Let's talk about China's Belt and Road Initiative. It's got to be one of the most ambitious and, yeah, one of the most controversial projects in the world today. So, is it this incredible engine for development, or is there something else going on? Let's get into it. This is really the question at the heart of everything, isn't it? You hear it all the time. Is the BRI a genuine lifeline for countries that are desperate for new roads, ports, and power plants? Or is it all just a cleverly designed debt trap meant to give China more power on the world stage? Okay, so how do we figure this out? The only way is to follow the evidence. But, as you're about to see, the story isn't that simple. It's more like a puzzle with a lot of pieces that don't seem to fit together at all. So on one side, you have the mutual benefit camp. They say the BRI builds desperately needed infrastructure, which helps economies grow and connects them to the world. But then you've got the debt trap view, which argues these massive loans are designed to be impossible to pay back, forcing countries to hand over control of their key assets. I mean, the stakes for these nations just could not be higher. And when you actually look at what's happening on the ground, well, the picture gets really murky. In Kenya, a new railway is a huge success, boosting trade. But then you look at Sri Lanka, and the Hambantota port became this huge symbol of the debt trap fear. Meanwhile, Kazakhstan is seeing growth, but Malaysia had to go back to the drawing board and renegotiate its deals. You see what I mean? It's all over the map. And that's exactly why this debate is so intense. So what gives? Why does one country get a huge economic boost, while another one gets buried in debt from basically the same kind of investment? There has to be something we're missing here, right? A key piece to this puzzle. And that brings us right to the heart of the research we're breaking down today. It suggests that maybe we've all been looking for the answer in the wrong place. There's this one clue that's been overlooked, and honestly, it changes everything. Almost all the debate is focused on the lender, on China. What are their real intentions? Are they a partner or a predator? But what if? What if that's not the most important question here? This research suggests the real key, the secret sauce, lies with the borrower, with the countries that are actually receiving the money. The crucial factor isn't just the cash coming in, but the system that cash is flowing into. And that brings us to this critical term, institutional quality. Now, it sounds a little academic, but the idea is actually pretty simple. It's just a way to measure how well a country's government works. How effective is it? Is there transparency, a strong rule of law? Is corruption under control? This concept, this is the key that unlocks the whole puzzle. So now that we have our big clue, let's look at what the data actually shows. Because the folks behind the study didn't just have a theory. They found a very clear tipping point where the effects of all this investment money completely flip. Now, if you just glance at the data, it seems pretty straightforward. This chart plots a country's government finances against its institutional quality score. And you can see that dotted line there. It's generally trending up. So better governments, healthier finances. Simple enough, right? Well, it's not that simple. When the researchers really dug in, they found something way more dramatic. It wasn't just some gentle slope. It was a sharp dividing line, a tipping point that basically separates success from failure. And that tipping point is the number 63. Based on data from 34 different countries, the study found that an institutional quality score of 63 was the critical line in the sand. What happens to countries above this score is fundamentally different from what happens to those below it. And this, right here, illustrates the split perfectly. You're looking at two different stories. The chart on top shows the trend for countries with scores below 63. The one on the bottom is for countries at or above 63. I mean, just look at them. They are pointing in completely opposite directions. So here's what that really means in practice. For countries with weaker institutions, those scoring below 63, getting a huge investment can actually make their financial situation worse. It increases the risk. But for those with stronger institutions, the story is completely reversed. They're way more stable and much better equipped to manage the debt that comes with these huge projects. So what does all this data tell us about our original question, the whole debt trap debate? Well, it gives us a remarkably clear verdict. The study's authors really said it best. They found that the impact of this investment, and I'm quoting, is contingent on how effectively recipient governments allocate and manage these resources. What that means in plain English is that it's not about the money itself, it's about the management. So you can think of it like this. A big BRI investment arrives. If it goes down path A, into a country with weak institutions, you often get mismanagement, no oversight, and the result is a bigger risk of a debt crisis.
But if that exact same investment goes down path B, into a country with strong institutions, you get fiscal discipline and real, sustainable growth. Same investment, two completely different outcomes.
And this brings us to the really big takeaway here. We have to understand why good governance, this high institutional quality, makes such a massive difference.
Here's a helpful way to think about it. All this BRI funding, it's like rocket fuel. It's incredibly powerful stuff. It has the potential to absolutely launch a country's economy forward at incredible speed.
But rocket fuel on its own can be pretty dangerous, right? You need a well-built engine to handle all that power. And that's exactly what strong institutions are. They're the engine. They provide the systems for managing debt effectively, the transparency that fights corruption, the clear rules for spending, and the ability to actually keep an eye on these giant projects. They are the engine that turns raw fuel into flight. So the crucial point here is that good governance isn't just some vague, nice-to-have ideal. In this world of massive global investment, it is a practical, powerful economic shield. It's what protects a country from the potential dangers and allows it to capture all the benefits. And that leaves us with a final thought that completely reframes this whole debate. Maybe the question we've been asking, is the BRI a trap, is the wrong question. Maybe the real question we should all be asking is a country institutionally ready to handle the opportunity?